Megan Jansen here with Employee Wellness Solutions Network. Thank you so much for so many of you to be joining us today. We are talking about immune system, specifically building and maintaining a strong immune system. And we have such an honor to invite Michelle, who's one of our longtime health coaches. She's been with us for 10 years, and she's been started in the hospitals, and she moved into more of a prevention, a way of living, and we couldn't be more pleased to have her be our speaker today. But just before we get started, before I turn it over to her, a couple of things to remember. As this is a webinar, there will be an opportunity for questions, certainly, and we will be able to answer those throughout the presentation today. You'll see a Q&A box at the bottom of or the side of your screen, depending on your setup. And there's also an opportunity to raise your hand if you'd prefer for me to unmute you. I do have everyone muted just to keep the background noise to a minimum. I know most of us, if not all of us, are working from home. So there'll be feet and pets and everything else happening in the background. So just to keep things a little quieter, we wanted to make sure that Michelle had the floor. A few other things. This is being recorded. We will be sharing the link on our Stay Safe, Stay Healthy website, which I'll be able to remind everybody as we continue throughout today's presentation. So without further ado, I'd love to ask Michelle to take over, and she's going to be our speaker today. Michelle, can you hear me? I'll turn it over to you. Oh, let's make sure that we have her audio.
Oh, there you are.
There you are. Excellent. Okay, I'm going to turn my video off and I'll let you take over.
Okay, thanks so much, Megan. Well, thanks again for coming and taking the time to join us today over your busy lunch hour. So today we're going to be going over some aspects of what makes the immune system strong, just to lessen your chances of getting sick in this crazy world that we're living in today. So this is pretty pertinent. Okay, slide 2. Your immune system is designed to defend against millions of bacteria, microbes, viruses, toxins, and parasites. And all these things would love for you to play host to them. So hopefully we can. Next slide. So the immune system recognizes the importance of infection, contains the infection, and works to eliminate it. It regulates itself so it doesn't damage the body, and it remembers pathogens to prevent diseases from recurring. Pathogens are microorganisms that can cause diseases in the host, and the 4 main types are bacteria, viruses, parasites, and fungi. And I'm sure you've all been infected with at least one of those in your lives, so you're familiar with those things. Next slide. So let's go over some of the organs of the immune system. Just familiarize yourselves a little bit more about what, like the jobs that they do. So the adenoids and tonsils, they work together up at the top of your throat there, right at the back of your mouth, to trap pathogens that are inhaled or swallowed, and they prevent them from contaminating the rest of your body. Adenoids contain immune cells that produce when you're breathing or anything coming down from your nasal passages. All of the cells of the immune system are initially produced in your bone marrow. Bone marrow is the spongy tissue inside your bones where red and white blood cells and platelets are formed. The type of white blood cell that's primarily responsible for protection against viruses and bacteria are called lymphocytes. 2 types of lymphocytes, or some types of lymphocytes, I should say, are the B cells, the immature T cells as well, and those are called thymocytes, and we'll talk more about the thymocytes in a minute here. So to the thymus, it plays an absolutely vital role in building the immune system. Those thymocytes, the immature T cells that form in bone marrow, they migrate into the thymus, and that's where they fully mature into fully functioning T cells. Mature T cells are crucial for the type of, they're crucial to your immune system, and it's a type of white blood cell that plays a major role in the immune system functioning. They need to undergo massive training before they're ready to be unleashed though. So think of the thymus as an Army boot camp training zone. So this is where your T cells are trained to recognize and fight off infections and cancers. They're trained to recognize pathogens, antigens, and they're taught to recognize yourself from non-self. So a little known fact about the thymus: to grow to puberty, it starts shrinking to a point where once you're basically 65 years old, it just whittles away until there's basically nothing left of it. So it's replaced by fatty tissue. So nearly all of the T cells that you have in your body are made by the time you're a teenager, which is pretty interesting. The lymph nodes, moving on, the lymph nodes are little bean-like organs that filter substances traveling through the body in the clear fluid known as lymphatic fluid. They're located throughout your body, mainly in your armpits, your groin, the base of your neck, that sort of thing. You've probably felt them flare up at times when you're getting sick, and they tend to hurt, you know, and they get bigger when you're getting sick, and that shows that they're fighting off infections. So they act as kind of like a garbage collection system. So the lymph nodes collect the lymphocytes, and the three main types are the B and the T cells and the NK cells, those natural killer cells. And they have infection, the pathogens, the cellular waste, the leftover hormones and stuff, the debris that's floating through your lymphatic fluid, your circulatory system. And these waste and pathogen materials are presented to the circulating B and T cells and the NK cells, and then they initiate this immune response. And that's where these pathogens and leftover cells are killed off by the immune response. So the foreign materials are then filtered out of the lymph. The circulatory system once again, kind of cleans things up. So you can help your lymphatic system to work better by helping these little garbage collectors to dump their waste products more regularly and easily. So things that help to do that are simply exercising regularly. That's one of the best things you can do. So both cardio and strength training will do this, but especially vigorous walking, jumping, running, that sort of, they really help to kind of dump your garbage in your lymph nodes. So eating healthy natural foods and drinking plenty of water will increase the immune action that happens in those lymph nodes. Getting massages regularly can actually help to kind of speed things along, especially in the lymph area. And there are specific lymphatic massages that you can find out there now. People are specializing in this. And you can try like vibration or rebounding therapies. So something like in our house, I got this little mini trampoline, and not only does it help to you know, dump your garbage collection, it actually improves your brain capacity, your thinking capacity. And when I don't have time for a walk, I just go on my little mini trampoline and I jump my little heart out, and boy, it helps in a lot of ways actually. Okay, looking at the next one. So the spleen. The spleen is an immunological filter of the blood. It's made up of B cells, T cells, macrophages, dendritic cells, natural killer cells, and red blood cells. None of that's too important, but just some tidbits. The organ can be thought of as an immunological conference center. In the spleen, your B cells become activated and they produce large amounts of antibodies. This is the place where old red blood cells are actually destroyed as well. So looking at the intestines, otherwise known as the gut, the large intestine is inhabited by trillions of bacteria, and that's often referred to as probiotics. The root word of probiotics, so root word pro meaning encouraging and biotic meaning life. And you've probably heard of your gut being referred to as your microbiome. It, along with your skin, is what makes up the microbiome. Without probiotics and these microbes in your gut, humans would be extremely vulnerable to illnesses from bacteria and viral infections, foodborne illnesses, and we'd also be very deficient in key nutrients and vitamins, since a lot of them are made in the large intestine by the microbiome, believe it or not. These critters have a symbiotic relationship with us, and we could not function without them. So your immune system would be much weaker if you had a microbiome that was deficient in the good, healthy bacteria. Your intestines actually represent up to 70% of your entire immune system, and it functions as the immune system's control tower of sorts. It kind of dictates how your body behaves and acts. It even helps to control moods, appetite, everything. So autoimmune disorders, just everything. It's quite an emerging science. Having the right balance of so-called good and bad gut microbes is mainly what keeps your immune system functioning properly and what keeps you healthy overall. This is why eating fermented foods, for example, these fermented foods that serve to repopulate the proper gut microbes in there, and by eating prebiotic foods, and prebiotics are simply just things that feed those microbes. Think of it as food for your microbes, and that's why they have gained importance lately. So let's look at the appendix, moving on here. The appendix is like a safe house for the beneficial bacteria living in the human gut. It's populated with all the different microbes that help the digestive system break down the food that we eat. It provides nourishment and safety for the good bacteria when things go wrong. For example, like when a person gets sick and they've got diarrhea for days on end and they get really dehydrated. Well, also a lot of those microbes have just come out the other end. And so we need to repopulate the gut with the good microbes. And that's where the appendix kind of harbors those microbes. So oftentimes the microbes that cause the sickness in the first place are flushed out along with all the nastiness when you're sick. And so eventually the appendix is able to repopulate the gut with what it needs, and it gets that garden growing again. I think of your microbiome kind of as your garden, and you want to tend it so that it works properly and keeps you healthy. And we'll talk about how to tend your garden. Okay, next slide, please. So here's a little diagram about a balanced immune system. And can take a minute and sort of look at it. If you look in the middle at that green line, this is optimal effectiveness and health of your immune system. If you look below it, or go below it first, this is an immunocompromised immune system. And this is where things like cancer and infections such as hepatitis, viral infections, HIV, shingles, that sort of thing, they all happen in an immunocompromised environment when it's not working as well as it should. So also parasitic and viral, bacterial, fungal infections, that sort of thing, they all happen in that environment as well. And so that's when you want to boost your immune system. When you look above the line, there's some strange things that are happening more and more in modern times. And this is a bit of an anomaly where it's still being studied as to why we have so much overimmune reactions when we've got autoimmune problems and allergies to such a high extent. We're a little perplexed as to why this is going on. We have overactive immune systems. But some of the things I'm talking about following this is going to help to regulate your immune system so that it acts just the way it's meant to act. So research over the past 15 to 20 years has shown that nutrition plays a major role in supporting the production and action of the cells and organs of the immune system. Unfortunately, modern diets are so rich in processed foods that contain too little fiber, too many animal products, unhealthy fats, and subsequently they are so low in natural vegetation, especially vegetables, that nearly all North Americans and much of the world actually, they're drastically deficient in plant-derived phytochemicals, and we'll talk more about that. And the effects of this is absolutely disastrous to our immune system functioning. So phytochemicals are the micronutrients in plant-based foods that are neither vitamins nor minerals, and they provide no calories. However, they are critical factors in keeping the immune system functioning normally. They're fairly newly discovered. It is an emerging science as well, and it's pretty fascinating. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of phytochemicals found in natural plants, and we've only just begun to understand what some of them actually do for us in the body. So we do know that without them, our immune systems don't work well at all. So this slide shows keys to a healthy immune system, and that's found, mainly in your foods, but different components within your food, such as the protein, the antioxidants, essential fatty acids, vitamins, minerals, phytochemicals. Really want to focus on the next slides. We'll kind of, we'll get into that a little bit more. Next slide, please.
Michelle, there's just one question that came in the Q&A box is,
yeah.
What are some examples of phytochemicals? I know you mentioned very high level, but can you share any other examples of what they might be?
Oh, yeah, sure. They're kind of grouped in categories, and often similar phytochemicals are found in similar colored foods. For example, like the carotenoids, they're found in, just like it suggests, carrots, so the orange vegetables, the yellow, red, green vegetables and fruits, such as your carrots and your cantaloupes and your tomatoes and squashes and broccolis and stuff like that. So those are some examples, and they actually prevent cancer growth, and they prevent cardiovascular disease, and they really highly boost your immune system. So something like, you've heard that red wine is good, and the reason why, there's a phytochemical called resveratrol in the grapes, and it's actually found in dark chocolate, peanuts, and that sort of thing. It's actually an antioxidant. It helps to prevent free radical damage, which that's the subject of another another talk, another day. But they they have very high immune boosting properties as well. Even sulfides, like found in onions and garlics and leeks and all of that sort of thing, even olives, they actually help to decrease the bad cholesterol, the LDL and VLDL, the very low density lipoproteins in your blood. So they're kind of scavengers, and they just keep everything working well to prevent heart disease, as well as boosting your immune system as well. So there's so many different things. There's quercetin, that's found in apples and onions and citrus fruits and that sort of thing, and that keeps your blood pressure off, running properly, and prevents inflammation. Is
that's great? Yeah, I think I should have mentioned at the very beginning, we're scratching the surface because there's so much information, but yeah, that's great information. We'll move on to the next slide.
Yeah, next slide. Whenever you go to the next slide there, please.
Yeah, I'm working on it. There's a bit of a delay for some reason.
Oh, okay, thanks.
There we go. Sorry about that.
Awesome. So this gives some examples of some of these foods that actually, to a high degree, boost your immune system. So looking at those fermented foods, these are foods that increase your beneficial gut microbes. So things like yogurt, and people are experimenting with making their own sauerkraut and kimchi and other things at home, and these really improve the microbiome. So keep eating those things. They're very good to have in your daily diet. Looking at the oats and barley, they have some phytochemicals known in the beta-glucan family, and that's a fiber that actually, just so you know, all your gut microbes live on one food and one type of food, and I'm not sure if you know what that is, and it's fiber. But they love oats and barley, they love beta-glucan, and in turn it then improves the antioxidant capabilities, which incidentally is more potent than a plant known as echinacea. So a lot of people take echinacea for colds, viral. It's very antiviral, but oats and barley actually works better than that, believe it or not. So looking at your garlic, we talked a little bit about garlic before with the sulfite content in there and how it boosts the immune system. But the active ingredient is called allicin, which highly fights infection and bacteria. And incidentally, most of us will put our garlic in our, cook it up with the onions at the very beginning, but then that active ingredient, allicin, it dies off to a high degree. So if you can crush your garlic and put it in after your food is cooked and just stir it in at the end, you will keep more of that active allicin intact. So there's other things in here. There's like turmeric, ginger, essential oils, parsley, herbs, spices. All of these are immune boosters in the sense that they are plant-based. They have all sorts of different types of phytochemicals, hundreds sometimes. We actually use a lot of these in our medicine. So we make medicine out of some of these, like turmeric, for example, is so highly anti-inflammatory that it actually works better than many, many different anti-inflammatories that are in the pharmaceutical line of things. So especially people in Asia and India use turmeric daily, and I highly recommend that you use it in all of your cooking. You can put it in things like your casseroles and stews and, you know, chili and that sort of thing. I don't recommend it in a smoothie. It tastes terrible in there. Maybe ginger or something like that.
Michelle, it's Megan here. We've got one question that just came in from somebody. Can you
Yeah.
get your fiber intake without grains? So some veggies. Can you get your fiber enough there that way? Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's insoluble fiber in grains, which acts like a little kind of, like a pipe cleaner through a tube. It kind of like scratches all the debris out of your large intestine. However, there's soluble fiber in all of your plant foods that the vegetables and fruits, they break down and they form more of a gel, and they add bulk and volume to your large intestines, which then actually provides food for those microbes. So yeah, you can get loads of fiber from your vegetables and fruits. You don't need to eat grains. There's all kinds of fiber in the skins, for example, of beans and pulses and lentils and that sort of thing as well. So there's loads of other places to get your fiber. Nuts and seeds have fiber as well. Good question.
Okay, sorry, Michelle, we've got one more. Oil of oregano, where does that fit? Does that fit in this discussion?
Well, oil of oregano is also a plant-derived essential oil. So you grow a lot of it. It takes a lot. You express it and down into a very concentrated form. And then it provides like a very broad spectrum antibiotic action. It's antimicrobial, antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal. So it really hits a lot of different microbes, and it will actually protect you from them when you take them. So it will reduce your incidence of colds and flus, athlete's foot, for example, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. I don't know if you've heard of that, SIBO. So sometimes people have bacteria that creep up into their small intestines and it wreaks havoc. And so oil of oregano will calm that down and make things go back to normal. It tastes terrible, but if you can, handle it, it can really help in times like this, actually, to prevent sickness. Good question again. Okay, so moving on to the fish. Fatty fish such as salmon, mackerel, herring, anchovies, things like that are very high in omega-3 fatty acids, and they again reduce inflammation in the body, and it also protects your lungs from colds and other infections too. So it increases airflow. So it just kind of keeps, also omega-3 fatty acids, those fats help act as precursors to hormone production. So they're super important in the body. Next slide. Little delay again. Okay. Exercise in the immune system. Did we get oh, there we go. That's the right slide. So sweet potatoes. These are just more examples of foods that boost the immune system. Sweet potatoes are a great source of vitamin A. It helps your skin to just be nice and healthy, which is basically oftentimes a first line for get into your skin. So it can provide up to 40% of your daily recommended value of vitamin A. So sweet potatoes are amazing. And other orange vegetables fit into that category. So citrus and berries, those sort of high vitamin C fruits also boost the immune system to a high degree. Very important to keep vitamin C in your daily diet. We along with guinea pigs, I don't know why, we cannot make our own vitamin C. We must get it from an external source. And you don't need tons and tons of it. Sometimes if you're taking, you know, 1,000 milligram vitamin C capsule a day, just so you know, it's not going to work nearly as well as getting it from a natural food source. So just make sure you're including those citrus fruits in your diet every day at this point in time. They can help to loosen mucus and phlegm and prevent infections as well. Looking at the next one, beef, poultry, beans, they're known for their zinc content, and that really helps to develop the white blood cells, which provide immune properties. Green tea has L-theanine in it that can boost your immune system. It provides a kind of a buffer to stress. So L-theanine is found in both green and black tea. It's actually also found in decaffeinated tea, so you don't have to worry about that, which is a bonus if you want to drink, you know, some sort of tea before bed and still get that kind of brain calming. It reduces brain chatter. So if you're having a hard time going to sleep at night and you find that your brain just won't shut off with everything that's going on, the L-theanine will really calm that down. So I just recommend you drink a decaf tea if you're drinking it close to bedtime. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. Recent studies have shown that if you complete moderate exercise just a few times every week, you can drastically reduce the number of colds that you get every year. Outside of just keeping you in shape and helping you to become healthier over time, exercise can boost your immune system and help you fight off harmful diseases such as colds and infections. Next slide. So, regular exercise strengthens your heart, better equips your lungs at handling oxygen and distributing it to the rest of your body. It provides a boost to the cells in your body that are assigned to attack bacteria. So not just bacteria, any pathogens, all other kinds of pathogens as well. So, however, beware of over-exercising, because too much exercise actually weakens the immune system. It's a big stressor on the immune system. To avoid this effect, make sure that you give your body enough recovery time in between exercise sessions so that you don't overtrain. Overtraining by doing too much too soon can interfere with sleep, which has a large impact, which we'll talk about, a large impact on how your immune system actually behaves. And it's very tempting when you have, some of us have more time on our hands at this point, working from home, you know, you don't have all that drive time to get to work. So it's very tempting to just go and jump into all of these neat online exercise sessions that we're finding, but maybe we're not ready for it and it's actually lessening, weakening your immune system. So just be aware of that. Incidentally, we have, you can see at the bottom left corner, we have some at-home workouts that we have provided you with. Please feel free to go to that link and you will find all kinds of things that you can try. Next slide, please. Okay, sleep and the immune system. Not getting enough sleep has been linked to a number of mental and physical health problems, including those that stem from an impaired immune system. Next slide, please. So T cells decrease when we are sleep deprived. Your T cells are a component of the white blood cells called lymphocytes that we talked about before. They attack most of the viral and bacterial infections in your body. So studies show that sleep deprivation suppresses your immune system functioning greatly. Getting between 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night will help to keep the immune system working optimally. In addition, the body tries to fight off pathogens through raising its body temperature, inducing a fever. And I don't know if you've noticed, but fevers tend to rise at night while we're sleeping. So if you're awake for too long, you're not getting all that sleep that you need, you're binge watching Netflix or whatever, and you're noticing that your body temperature is going up, that's doing it for a reason, because fevers help to improve and induce your immune system action, and they actually increase your body temperature in an effort to kill off those pathogens that can only live at your normal host body temperature. So they're there for a reason. If you're awake, though, your fever reaction may not be primed, therefore it's not waging war on the infection as well as it could be. So get your shut-eye. Next slide, please. So stress in the immune system. So looking at this diagram here, I'll just kind of talk a bit about it. Looking at the effects on stress on the immune system, stress will lead to an elevated heart rate and higher blood pressure, which in turn can lead to immune-regulated inflammation of the blood vessels, which then increases the risks of diseases such as hypertension, so that's high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes, all of these things. The next line, so stress, also increased stress when it's not balanced by an equal amount of stress reduction practices. That leads to an overproduction of stress hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline. This has a very detrimental effect on your immune functioning. So it includes your lymphocyte production will decrease, your antibody reduction, or production, I should say, will reduce, and latent viral infections, so old viruses that you had and maybe are dormant in your body, it can also bring on these viral infections. So has anyone ever had cold sores in the past, and when you were really stressed out, and then you thought your cold sore days are gone, all of a sudden, you have maybe a bunch of exams as a student to write, or maybe you have, a big project you're working on and you're getting too little sleep, and all of a sudden you notice that those cold sores have appeared again. That's because that herpes virus has made itself known again, which they do that in times of stress often. So the long-term activation of the stress response system and subsequent overexposure to cortisol and other stress hormones can disrupt almost all of your body's processes. This puts you at an increased risk of numerous health problems. Next slide, please. So things that you can do to take care of yourself. So these are some self-care practices. Highly recommended to do this now. We might have more time to form some new habits at home to take care of yourself. So try integrating some of these stress management techniques into your daily life. And here's some suggestions. So practicing the deep breathing and learning to meditate. This is a great way of instantly shutting off the sympathetic nervous system response. And that's where all your stress hormones are released. But instead, just by practicing those few deep breaths, it will instantly activate the parasympathetic nervous system response. And that's where the relaxation hormones are released instead. So it instantly shuts off the stress hormones and turns on your relaxation hormones. And basically, if we had about a 50-50 mix of the two, we would be healthy. But in this day and age, we generally have way more stress hormone release than we do relaxation hormones. So this is one way that we can prevent that and turn it around so we get more of a balance. Fostering healthy relationships. So having people and even pets in your life that you look forward to connecting with on a regular basis has been proven to increase your lifespan for up to 10 years in studies. And the science has also gone a little bit further. They say if you have 10 different relationships that you're nurturing, that is what contributes directly to the increase in lifespan. So having a sense of humor, so important. Laughter has been proven to dissipate stress. Aiming for at least one good hearty laughter session every day. And there's been some wonderful internet jokes circulating. I don't know if you've seen any of them. People are doing a good job of that. So watching some humorous TV programs or sitcoms online, Netflix, don't do too much of it. Just do one session a day, that's good. Maybe the comic sections in the newspaper, maybe you want to read those. Or I don't know if you've hung out with any kids lately, but I tell you, children certainly do help to lighten the mood. And I find myself laughing tons when I'm around kids. So just hang out with a few kids. Hopefully they're your own. They're not anybody else's in this time of social isolation. We can't go to the neighbors' kids. Next one, writing a journal. This has a good effect of letting go of inner built up emotions. If you can write it out oftentimes you can let it go. It has the same effect as pouring your heart out to somebody. So you're not trapping those negative emotions inside. It also allows your mind to make sense of your thoughts and what's going on in your life. So journaling has a very beneficial action. It can also record, capture what happens in a spot in time. For example, who would have thought we'd be going through all this right now? So journaling can capture that. Knowing when to seek professional counseling when needed is so important. Don't wait too long before things get out of control when you're heading down the rabbit hole of despair. And we, at some point in our lives, we will all need to ask for help. This is not a weakness. This is something that we need to do. Rely on other people. When it's not good enough just to talk to other people around you, make sure you're seeking the help of a professional, because they can help you to just go so much further. Okay, and the last thing, really important, exercise. Our bodies are absolutely designed to release our stress through activity. So please move your bodies every single day, at least a half an hour. Better yet, if you can add maybe a walk every day, at least 30 minutes. Do 2 to 3 times a week of some strength training exercises, and do 2 to 3 times a week of some stretching, such as yoga, or just simple stretches is fine. And that will really boost your immune system. Next slide, please. You are your best defense. So your immune system needs your help in order to work at its optimal levels. By incorporating the right foods, regular exercise, and working to get enough sleep, to manage your stress levels, and you can really reduce your chances of catching colds, flus, and other more serious health problems. And you deserve this. You and your family deserve to live your best lives. And so these things that we've talked about today will help you to work as well as you should be, and hopefully prevent yourselves from getting sick. Well, thank you so much for enduring this and joining me during your lunch hour today. I encourage you to dig deeper into finding ways to improve your overall immune boosting strategies, because this is just the tip of the iceberg. We could have had a week-long session on this subject.
Yes, thank you, Michelle. Yeah, which opens up now the question period. If anybody would like to type in some questions in the Q&A box, we'd love that. We still have a few minutes here for Michelle to answer those. As we're scratching the surface, you may have questions that may not have been addressed today. So we would love to hear from you. If you have any questions, please jot them into that chat box on your screen. So we do have one that just popped in. One, Michelle, is there one, specifically, I'm sort of paraphrase, with what's happening today in our world, is there one specific thing, strategy, idea you have that really would be one of the things that you would recommend as one of the most important to build our immune system, specifically for the anxiety and the stress and the nerves of what people are feeling and dealing with?
Yeah, it's hard to really single it out to just one, but honestly, people really underestimate the value of sleep. We only heal when we're sleeping. If you were to look at it today, the average human being today has approximately 1 to 2 months of food on their body. So look what happens when you do get sick. The first thing that's shut down is your hunger. You're not hungry. And there's a reason for that. And if you were in a serious car accident or something along that line, your body actually goes into a coma, or sometimes the medical professional will put you into a medically induced coma. And that is to allow your body to get the rest to do its job of rebuilding. And this is where your immune system does come into action. So rest is the only time. When you're sleeping, your body repairs. When things are repairing, allowed to repair regularly through getting adequate sleep, everything kind of falls into, like it just works better, because you feel better, so you make better decisions in what you eat during the day. You have far less cortisol buildup, so therefore you're not doing that stress eating. You're not, increasing your sugar intake, which is what happens when you deprive yourself of sleep and you have too much cortisol running through your body, the stress hormones. Everything else falls into place if you get enough good quality sleep. And that means for most people, that's between 7.5 and 9 hours of sleep. And have you ever noticed, if you're sick, your body makes you like you're tired, and you will sleep sometimes 10, 12 hours, and you'll just wonder what hit you. And that's because you are only repairing when you're sleeping. So let the sleep happen. That's what I would say.
That's a great bit of feedback, Michelle. So we have a few questions that have come through. Somebody has commented on the meditation session that we did last week. Thank you for noticing that. The recording is on the website, and we'll definitely bring it to the team if you'd like to do that again. So just to answer that quick question, it is recorded, so definitely take a look at that. Denise did a great job. That was last week's Coaches Connection. How would you suggest someone start an indoor exercise program during this time of self-isolation, Michelle, other than heading to the site, because we do have lots of at-home suggestions for people, but how do you recommend maybe
just starting?
Starting, yes.
Yeah, you know what, this is a question I would love to actually go really in depth with this person on, because you know, there's so many different things to look at to encompass. But if somebody has never exercised at all before, if you're in an area where you can actually get out for a walk and still be away from all of those people practicing the social distancing, I would encourage people to start with a walk. Our feet are designed for walking. That's basically one of the easiest things for our bodies to do. And don't kid yourself. I mean, walking can really be bumped up in intensity over time, so that you know, it can become a great cardiovascular exercise. That's a good place just to start. And if you don't have that in your life, I would suggest even a 10-minute walk just to start. If you live in a place that's very highly populated, I would recommend getting into a car, driving, you know, maybe to the outskirts, like country area where there's nobody, and just go for like a little out and back short walk. And that will get you started, and no more than maybe the first week, two 10-minute walks. Then gradually you're bumping it up about 10% per week over that, so that you're not, you know, overdoing things. It depends on where you are. Like if you're already doing some sort of activity, we can certainly, there's like so many other things we can incorporate. But that just means a real good conversation.
That's great.
I'm not sure if that answers anything, but
no, that's great. We've got another one here about sleeping. What's your thought on melatonin? Does it help? Doesn't it help? Thoughts on that?
Yeah, melatonin is something that's naturally produced anyway in the body. It's your go-to-sleep hormone. People have a shortage of melatonin when they're watching too much screen time, or they're just kind of fighting off their natural sleep signals. There's various reasons for it, but melatonin can be a good aid. And because it's natural, like it's not addictive or anything like that, it can be a you know, something that's natural to try. It only lasts about 3 hours though. So everybody has a different tolerance for melatonin. Some people can take a 3-milligram tablet and it will work wonders for them in getting them to sleep within about a half an hour. Whereas other people need more, like 5 or 10 milligrams of melatonin. So it's a bit of an experiment. Some will actually try it and say, oh, this does nothing for me. Or I still woke up in the middle of the night, even though I used melatonin. And that's only because it's so short acting. It leaves after 3 hours. But perhaps maybe it wasn't the right dose for you in the first place. Some people actually need as much as 20 milligrams of melatonin, and their bodies normally would produce what they need, but that is being impaired through kind of our modern world these days. So yeah, it's a good natural one to try.
Michelle, what about melatonin for kids? Do you recommend that?
Oh my goodness, that's a tough one, and it's probably beyond my scope here. I think that I would do other sleep problem solvings. If there's something going on where somebody's thinking about giving it to kids, there's a whole host of things that we can look at that is probably preventing them, from getting to sleep properly in the first place. And screen time is huge. Don't underestimate that. If they're having device time an hour before bed, then it is screwing up their natural melatonin production. So look there first. Maybe something like blocking out windows or noises, or making sure the bedroom's cool enough, because if you're too hot, you won't sleep right away. There's other problem-solving things to do first for kids.
Thanks, Michelle. So we'll just leave the question and answer open for a couple more minutes, and I'll just do my final slide here with a bit of an update for next Wellness Wednesday, while you're thinking of any other questions. So as you all have heard and seen, we hope, we are populating our Stay Safe, Stay Healthy self-care portal every week. All of our recordings will also be there as we do these. We are going to be doing a registration link next Monday, just like every Monday message we send out. So stay tuned for that. And same time, I think, don't quote me on that, we'll get the time for you. But we are excited to be able to offer these. And as I said, if you can't make it, don't sweat it. We will, or we definitely are recording everything. So are there any other final questions as we tie up with Michelle today? If there aren't any other questions, some really great questions came through today. We'll stop it here. What we will do, oh, one second, we might have one that just popped up. Oh, you're welcome. If there are any questions that do come up in the next little while, feel free to email us and we'll definitely get you that answer. So we're here for you. We're here to help you and answer any questions you have and any help we can give you. So definitely feel free to send us a note. So thank you so much for your time. Michelle, thank you for your time. Rock star as always. And we look forward to meeting again, hopefully next Wednesday. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks a lot. Bye.